Chapter 15. Nancy jerked her head up to see Vivian drenched in steaming liquid, and wrestling the gun from her hand was... "Alan!" Nancy cried out. "How on earth?" Alan stood behind Vivian, holding her gun in one hand and a huge bowl in the other. "Hot egg drop soup," he grinned. Working swiftly, he untied his friends. "I figured the last place those muscle brains would look for me was in their own building. I sneaked back in through the restaurant side and came up the dumbwaiter. You were right, Nancy. It was not the most comfortable ride." Alan unknotted the last bonds. "Alan," Nancy said gratefully, "without you, we'd never have gotten into this mess in the first place. The least I could do was save your skin." Before Nancy could reply, footsteps on the stairs signaled Dave's return. "Okay, guys," she whispered. "You're going to have to take Lee's henchmen on your own. I'm afraid my shoulder's given out on me." "I thought you said it was fine," George scolded her. "So I lied. I don't think I'm up for any fancy karate moves." "It's all right, Nancy," said Roger Gould. "Even without you, it's 9 of us against 4 of them." Suddenly, Dave appeared in the room along with Lee's other bullies. "Hey, what's going on?" "Viv, what are you doing on the—" Dave caught a right to his jaw before the word was out of his mouth. The small room reverberated with sounds of punches, kicks, and heated exclamations. It didn't take long for Nancy's friends to overpower Lee's cohorts. "Good job," Nancy said breathlessly. "Alan, go down and see about those policemen. Take Vivian's gun, just in case." Alan left the room and a few seconds later reappeared with 4 men in blue uniforms. "Sergeant Wald," Nancy said, pointing to Dave, Vivian, and the other 3 men. "We have a little present for you. But there's one more. The boss, James Lee. He's trying to escape on a ship that's about to pull anchor. Lee told his boys he'd leave without the merchandise if he had to. Do you think we can stop him?" "That should be easy." Sergeant Wald stepped forward. "Just tell us what dock he's leaving from, and we can radio headquarters. They'll have cars and a special Navy unit over there in no time." Nancy turned toward Lee's little gang, now securely tied with the ropes that had held her and her friends just moments earlier. "Okay, which one of you wants to tell me where your boss is leaving from?" Dave and the others remained silent. "Do you think he'd do the same for you?" Nancy asked. "No way. He wouldn't stick his neck out 1 fraction of an inch. In fact, he's getting ready to leave without you right this second." No answer. "Dave, think about what James Lee left you to do. He didn't want to do it himself, so who did he stick with it?" Dave scowled. "Yeah, that bum." "Come on, tell us," Nancy urged. She'd learned in karate class that a chain was most easily broken at its weakest link. "Maybe if you cooperate, they'll let you off with a lighter sentence." "Don't listen to her," Vivian commanded. Dave looked from his girlfriend to Nancy and back to his girlfriend. "You know, your mother would be heartbroken to see her son locked away forever," Nancy said, trying a different tack. "How do you know what my mother would think?" Dave shouted. "Ned had a little chat with her," Nancy replied calmly. "We were trying to track you down." Dave's face went from furious to panicked. The chain snapped. "All right, you win. I'll tell you where he is." Nancy allowed herself a long overdue sigh of relief. She was safe. Bess and Barton were fine, and Lee's gang was about to be put away. It was true that her shoulder ached, that her wrists and ankles were sore where Dave had tied them, and that her head was still bruised from where he had hit her the first night. But she had never in her life felt happier or more alive. That happy feeling was still with Nancy the next morning as she flounced down on the edge of Bess's bed. She steadied herself with her left arm, since her right one was still sore from the previous night. "Come on, lazy bones! Do you want to sleep through your last day in New York?" Bess groaned and pulled the covers over her head. "Bess!" Nancy jostled her friend's leg through the blanket. "It's almost 11 o'clock. Bess peeked one half-open eye out from her cocoon. "Nan, don't you know that people who've been through traumas need lots of rest?" She rolled over on her stomach. "You seemed just fine at our midnight celebration supper. Remember putting away all those spare ribs?" George came out of the bathroom, a towel wrapped like a turban around her wet hair. "Don't even mention spare ribs. I ate enough last night for the rest of the week. And you're going to eat even more this afternoon at that luncheon the Chinatown Neighborhood Association is giving for us," Nancy reminded her. "Mrs. Chen, she's president of the association, told me that the community is incredibly grateful to all of us for helping to put James Lee behind bars. What a bully! It wasn't enough for him to pirate records and run all those other big-time illegal operations the police told us he had going. No, he had to muscle in on the small businesses in Chinatown, too. Yeah, I can certainly understand why the community is so glad to see him go," George said. "And it's really nice of them to give us an honorary luncheon. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to touch it." She patted her lean, flat stomach. "Don't worry, I'll help you out." Bess finally sat up in bed and stretched her arms over her head. George rolled her eyes. "Well, look who finally rises at the mention of her favorite sport, eating. Oh, come on, give me a break. How often do you get some of the best Chinese chefs this side of the Pacific to make a special meal just for you?" "Not too often," George answered. "And speaking of not too often, there's something I've been wanting to ask you, Bess." "Yeah?" "Alan said he went down to World Communications yesterday while you were out jogging. Since when have you turned into a jock?" Bess made a face. "Well, I sort of ended up doing more shopping than jogging." "Figures," George said. "So, how much did that little jog cost you?" Bess cringed. "I don't think I should say." "Come on, spill it. What did you blow?" Bess pouted. "George, don't tell me you've never gone out on a spur-of-the-moment shopping spree. How about that time you bought all those weights from the sports shop to use at home, and then you joined the gym so you don't even need your own weights?" George frowned. "Well, at least I don't go out running with a shopping bag in my wallet." Nancy sighed. "Okay, you two. No more arguing. From now on, this vacation's going to be fun, fun, fun." "Famous last words," George said. Nancy shot George a mock glare. "Don't even think it," she said. "It is going to be a vacation, even if it's just for one more day." "Yeah, I wouldn't mind some fun today either," Bess agreed. "I think I deserve it after yesterday. Now I know where the expression scared to death comes from. I honestly believed I was going to die of fright right before those thugs even did anything to me." Nancy leaned over and tugged on Bess's blonde hair. "I know, it was a nightmare, but it's all over." "Is it?" Bess punched her pillow, her expression sober. "Maybe for you, but I've got some serious thinking to do." "Alan?" Nancy asked softly. Bess nodded. "He told lies to get what he wanted. I didn't realize the boy I fell in love with would do something like that." George pulled a chair up next to the bed. "But he also saved our lives. Bess, your boyfriend's a hero." "Maybe." "Barton and Roger sure seem to think so," Nancy put in. "They wouldn't have offered to help him out otherwise." "Yeah, just think of it, Bess. He might get his dream one day after all," George remarked. "I'm thinking of it. but I'm also thinking that I want to take it more slowly with him. What happened made me realize that there's a lot about Alan Wales I don't know. But you still feel something for him, don't you? Nancy asked. Well, when the chemistry's right. Bess's round face grew pink. Good, because I told Mrs. Chen to seat you two next to each other, Nancy said with a laugh. Oh, did I tell you that my dad's bringing Anne Nordquist to the luncheon? George's brown eyes opened wide. Talk about chemistry. Yeah, Dad's really enjoying her company. Nancy sighed. I can't tell you how glad I am to have a suspect turn out innocent. And speaking of couples, George said, giving Nancy a poke, how are you and Ned doing? I think we're going to be all right. Nancy smiled brightly. As a matter of fact, this afternoon he's taking me on a very special boat ride to a tiny island. She raised her eyebrows suggestively. It's a start. Sounds romantic. Bess sighed. Nancy giggled. Yeah, it's called the Ferry to the Statue of Liberty. Now how about getting up, Bess, or the guests of honor are going to miss their own luncheon. And don't take too long putting on your makeup, George added. Okay. Bess climbed out of bed. Are Barton and Roger and all the Fenders going to be there? Absolutely, Nancy replied. Hey, did you know that Barton told me he's going to write a song about us and the whole mystery? He's going to call it Scared to Death. Wow! You mean every time we turn on our radios in River Heights, we're going to hear about ourselves? Bess asked. An instant souvenir, Nancy answered. Maybe they'll even make it into a video, George said hopefully. That would be neat, Nancy agreed. And I know just the threesome to play the detective and her two friends. The end.